Okay, now comes the part that a lot of us have been waiting for, and that is figuring out how to make our switches work. We've got the bump switch, the dome-shaped switch on top, and we've got our limit switch, the one with the metal bar coming off the front of our robot. And I'm going to teach you a little bit, but the challenge today is going to be paying attention to what I'm teaching you here and trying to figure out how to get both of them to work. So, first thing I'm going to do is I have my program that we just learned, the straight turn straight program. That's what I have open. And you can really edit any of this stuff that you want after you have watched this video. If you want to make it go longer and switch your wait times or whatever, or maybe go slower, whatever, does not matter to me. Okay? First thing I need to do is go to Robot, still do a double check. Do you have the check mark by 2.0 Cortex and Natural Language PLTW? I do, so we're good. Next I'm going to go to Motors and Sensors Setup. And we've still got a right and left motor, which is great. But we've now got to add in a couple other things. If you look, we've got analog sensors 1 through 8 and digital sensors 1 through 12. Well, if you remember back that far, we've got two digital switches. That's where we plugged them in, was digital 1 and digital 2. So we're going to name each one. We plugged the bumper switch into the top, so we're going to name that BUMP, capital S, WITCH, bump switch. All one word once again. And we're also going to call number 2 limit switch. Okay, so we've got bump switch and limit switch. Now, as a reminder, the bump switch is the dome-shaped one on top. Limit switch is the metal bar one on the front. We need to make each one a touch sensor. Alright, and we hit apply and OK. And you'll notice you have two more pragma statements come up top. Bump switch and limit switch. Now, what I'm going to show you today is how you can make your robot run this program that we have here, but it's going to wait until that bump switch on the top is pressed before it runs. Okay? So basically we're going to say, hey, wait until that switch gets pressed, keyword being until, and then you can do this stuff. Let's go back into natural language here. So we're going to have it wait until the switch is pressed. Which one of these 6 menus do you think that's going to be under? If you guessed until, well, you're not the smartest in the class, but you do have common sense. Okay? Until is where we're going to find our commands. Now there's a ton of them in here. Only a couple relate to switches. Until bump, until button press, and until touch. Okay? We're going to use until bump. Alright? So I'm going to click and drag that in right above our first start motor. So basically what this is going to say, your task is nothing until you get a bump. Okay? Because there's nothing before the until bump. And that's kind of tough for some people to wrap their mind around. But imagine there's this blank line here. Well, it first sees, hey, my task is nothing until I get a bump on our bumper switch. Okay? So that's why we use until bump. Sensor port is asking, what's the name of the switch? It's just like motor port. Well, we're going to use the top switch, which was bump switch. And it doesn't matter that it's blacked out right now. Once we hit compile, it will turn red. And there's this delay time in milliseconds. Well, what that is it's asking, hey, since this code goes really, really fast, do you want to make it wait for a second after you hit the switch? We always do. What I want you to do is go ahead and put a 6 millisecond wait in there. Basically, that just means that when you press this, it's not going to surpass all this stuff while your finger's still on this trigger. It's a little bit of a complex thing. But for right now, I'm just going to tell you, anytime you use this until bump command, put in a 6-second wait time. Okay? So we've got until bump, bump switch, 6-second delay, then it's going to start running this code. If you go back up to number 1, file, save as, Save it under desktop again and make it a new name. This time I'll call it bump turn. Okay, and then we go to robot, compile and download. You should be able to, once again, unplug your cord, set it on the floor, and this time when you restart it, it shouldn't do anything until you hit that dome-shaped bumper switch that's on the top of your robot. If you've done this correctly, once you hit the bump switch, it'll start off in a straight line, it'll turn to the right or left for 3 seconds, and it'll go in a straight line for an additional 3 seconds. Go ahead, check it out, see how it works, and when you're done with that, I want you to see if you can figure out, maybe delete some of this code, maybe figure out if you can do something with the limit switch on the front. You and your partner are going to have to talk together, maybe try out some of these codes like Intel Touch, or Intel Button Press maybe, okay, and think about, alright, there's button here, we would replace that with limit switch, or whatever button you're going to press, or sensor port, you would replace that with limit switch, or whatever the name is of the button that is going to be pressed, okay, so if you want to, go ahead and try that out, see what you can figure out.